Shalom Uvracha. Aaron HaKohen, whose Ptira, whose death is recorded in our parasha, Parashas Chukas, is described in the Mishnah, Pirkei Avos Perek Aleph, as a figure that brings peace to the world. He's Oyev Shalom. He loves peace. Roidev Shalom. He chases after peace. He loves everyone. Oyev Sabrios, loves all the creatures. Umakarvan la Torah, and he brings them close to the Torah. And the question is, where do we find this particular trait, this particular disposition concerning Aaron HaKohen? In the Torah itself, we don't seem to find any description, any articulation of this particular character trait. The Medrash goes as far as to say that Aaron HaKohen used to find people who were arguing among themselves and used to make peace between them. Where do we find this concerning Aaron HaKohen? And perhaps the key to unraveling this question is found in another statement of Chazal in Brachas Daf Samech Dalet. There we find a famous statement that we say almost daily. Amar Rabbi Lazar, Amar Rabbi Chanina, Talmidei Chachamim Marbim Shalom Ba'olam. Torah scholars, they proliferate, they augment peace in the world. Don't read your children, but rather those who build. Who are the builders of the world? Those are the Torah scholars, and they are the ones that bring peace. And this itself requires some elucidation. How do Talmidei Chachamim bring peace to the world? Often they're fighting with each other, and those struggles within the Beis Medrash, the study hall, they sometimes also spill over into the public domain, into the public space, and we hear about these struggles, the wars of Talmidei Chachamim. How exactly do they bring peace? But I think the answer to this is that Talmidei Chachamim, to be a true Torah scholar, there's an expectation, there's a need, a requirement to be able to hold both sides of the argument, both sides of the dispute in your mind, in your head, at once, to be able to appreciate the two sides. Talmidei Rabbi Akiva, who were not noeg kavod zeh b'zeh, they didn't respect one another. That was their problem. That was why that Beis Medrash was ultimately destroyed, because those figures, those Torah scholars, were unable to hold both sides of the debate in their minds at once, and that's why that Beis Medrash was ultimately destroyed. But the halacha follows Beis Hillel. And why? Says the Gemara in Eruvin, we follow Beis Hillel because Beis Hillel not only did he cite the opposing view, the one that he didn't want to rule like, not only did Beis Hillel cite that one, but he even cited it before he would bring his own opinion, meaning he brought the opposing opinion before his own. And that's why the halacha follows Beis Hillel, because Beis Hillel is able to hold both opinions within his appreciation, within his mental framing, and then you can also make a better decision when you respect both sides, when you hold them both dear, you hold them both close. And Talmidei Chachamim, yes, they do fight a war. There's a war going on in the Beis Medrash. But how do they fight that war? Says the Gemara in several places. The Gemara says, wait until the Baalei Trisim enter the study hall. Who are the Baalei Trisim? A tris is a shield. How do you fight the war in the Beis Medrash? With shields, not with swords. You don't try to stab the opposing argument. You don't try to somehow dispose of him by means of a sword. You don't try to obliterate your rival, but rather you use a shield. It's almost comical to imagine a battle with shields. But yes, in the Beis Medrash you defend your own opinion, but you appreciate the other opinion. You desire its presence. You want your rival in the Beis Medrash to be as best as he can, and you're able to hold both of those opinions in your own mind, in your own heart, and then to make the decision between them. And that is peace. Peace isn't the absence of struggle. Peace isn't the absence of rivalries or the absence of arguments. We want those arguments. We want those rivalries. But we want them to be in a way that one doesn't destroy the other. One doesn't eliminate and obliterate the other, but rather they both coexist. And through that coexistence in struggle, which is itself a peaceful coexistence, through that we'll reach the best possible outcome in the Beis Medrash. That is the virtue of the Talmid Chacham. That is the virtue of the Torah scholar. And that is what Aaron HaKohen represents. Aaron HaKohen is not just the priest who serves in the temple. Aaron HaKohen is also the teacher of the Jewish people. Yoru mishpatecha leYaakov v'teirascha leYisrael. It says about Shevet Levi, they are the teachers of the Jewish people. They shall be the ones who teach Torah to the Jewish people. They are the Talmidei Chachamim, and that's why the bris, the covenant of Hashem with the Kohanim, is called a bris shalom, like it says in Malachi. Brisi haisa imay, my covenant was with him, hachayim ve'ashalom, life and peace, or with Pinchas, who also receives the covenant of peace, because a Kohen has to know how to hold both sides close. On the one hand, in his service to Hashem, the side of the Jewish people, the earthly side, and the divine side of Hashem. Those are two sides. The Maharal says that the Kohen, numerical value, the Gematria is 75, between 7, the natural world, and 8, the supernatural, and the Kohen is between them. He holds them both. He's able to touch both, to hold them both. And of course, in teaching, in being the Talmid Chacham, who must be able to hold both sides of the case, both sides of the argument. And that's why Aaron HaKohen is the one who is forever memorialized as the man of peace. And in our current situation, the situation of the Jewish people, and specifically the Jewish people living here in Israel, this is exactly what we need. We need those men of peace, those people of peace. We need those Talmidei Chachamim, a leadership that knows how to hold, how to appreciate both sides of the case, both sides of the dispute. We are today in a remarkable place, in an unprecedented place in the annals not just of the state of Israel, but of the Jewish people in the last few thousand years, where after 2 years of fighting a bitter war against enemies, that war reached a crescendo in the campaign against Iran, in which it became clear to the world there's a war going on between good and evil, a war going on between the forces of light and those of darkness, and the world is lining up one way or the other. We had this week, in the largest music festival of Britain, an artist on the stage in front of millions of viewers saying death to the IDF. Can we even imagine this? We have a Democratic nominee for the mayorship of New York City who compares the uprising of the October 7th to the Warsaw Ghetto uprising. It's unbelievable what the Jewish people is facing, both in terms of challenges and also certainly in terms of opportunity. We will be able to rise to those challenges and opportunities if we do so together, if we do so united. To be able to do so united, we must have that leadership and indeed that general mindset among the population, that you have two sides and they have legitimacy, and we have to give them the space and the airing, and not to think of how to wipe them out, not to think of how to eradicate them and obliterate them. We must have that mindset of the Talmidei Chachamim, of the Torah scholars that bring peace, that augment peace in the world, the mindset of Aaron HaKohen. And only thus, by being able to engage in the dialogue, by appreciating the other side, even though we think that our side is the more just, that our side is the more correct. But so what? There's another side out there that has legitimacy. There's people that will hold daily to their side, and we must be able to appreciate both. We must be able to hold both. We must be able to, like Beis Hillel, to cite the other side and give it its space and its legitimacy, and thus we'll be able to follow, to be the disciples, like it says in Pirkei Avot, of Aaron HaKohen, of loving peace and chasing after peace, Oheves Habrios, to love the creatures wherever and whoever they may be, Umerkavan Labrios, and to bring them to a vision of Torah, to a vision of Judaism that espouses the Achdus, the unity around Torah values, which can be achieved, and be the leader that the world is looking to in bringing those values to the public domain. We should all be zeicher to see good tidings, to see times of redemption and times of salvation, and we should have a beautiful Shabbos.